rumination in and of itself is not an evil thing, as much as we are looking to ruminate on something that's not negative, but ruminate on something that is truth. And part of ruminating on truth is integrating negative experiences into our realities. I hope somebody's going to get this. When we integrate negative experiences into our realities, we don't neglect the negativity. We acknowledge the negative experience. And it's acknowledging that negative experience that gives us room to come back to reality and say, yeah, that's what happened. And this is what God is doing. This happened to me. This is how I felt. That is all real. And this is what I'm choosing to do about it moving forward. This is how I'm actually going to go about healing this moving forward. That's what happened to me. And that's not who I am. That was an event that wasn't the sum total of my life. That is the moment, but that doesn't define my character. So we have to be willing to move in a light where we integrate that negative experience into our reality, so we don't begin saying statements like, well, because I made a dumb decision, I'm a dumb person. No, I just made a bad decision, but actually I knew it was a bad decision because I know I'm an intellectual individual. I know I have greater capacity and wisdom and responsibility for it than maybe I showed in that moment. I had a weak moment. That doesn't make me a weakling of a person. That doesn't make me a purposeless person. That doesn't make me a horrible being. That's when we can actually integrate those experiences. Okay. So let me leave that alone. Let me, because I got to hurry. Right. And so a part of integrating those negative experiences, a part of rewiring our brain to rehearse the things that are good, which is Christ, which is his word, which is what he says about us, which is truth. When we put ourselves in those positions, we're able to actually let go more and more of what we're ruminating on when it comes to the heartbreak, and then actually be able to rehearse the things that are beneficial. And it takes time. It's a process. Okay. It's a process. And so that's what we're essentially doing, right? When we're asking, what do I believe this loss says about me? We're reconnecting with the version of us that has to heal. We're learning that part of us is actually coming from other experiences earlier on, and we're nurturing that. Right. And then this also allows us to not identify with the wound, but accept the wound for what it is, as an event, as a moment, and in the crash course of actually healing, being able to allow our bodies to catch up by constantly reaffirming who we are, not in light of the trauma, but who we are even as we integrate the emotional wound. This is what happened, but this is not who I am. Okay. And so these questions are something that we just need to journal, and I want you to just get into the habit of meditating. Okay. I'll revisit them. Okay. What is one unique gift about you that makes you special? What do you believe this loss says about you? Allows you to empathize, reconnect with the version of you that needs to heal. I want you to get into a place of gratitude. Gratitude is massive. Gratitude places you in the present. Gratitude is not focusing on what we don't have, but focusing on what remains. Okay. So we got to get into a place where we're grateful and we're showing gratitude each and every day. Like, be as applicable as possible. Get you a gratitude journal, meditate, and get you an audio journal. I do audio journaling and handwritten journaling. Man, that thing, gratitude, is a lifesaver, because I can't I can't do both things at once. I can't hold on to the negative and celebrate the positive in the sense of, because I know we just talked about integrating responsibility or integrating negative experiences into our reality. I can't hold on to depression and be grateful at the same time. One of them has to drop. This is what I mean by that, right? I cannot hold them both at the same time. I can't be depressed and be grateful. I have to choose one or the other. And oftentimes how we choose one or the other is where we're trying to divert our focus to, right? So if I gave you a question and I said, hey, you have two dogs that are tied up, okay, to a tree, and one is in the dark and one is in the light, which one survives? I wouldn't tell you the one in the light. I would tell you the one you feed. The dog you feed is the dog that will live. Same way with a lot of our thoughts. The thoughts that remain, the thoughts that you feed, are actually going to be the thoughts that are repetitive, that are recycled. And so we have to be willing to take the same energy we're pouring into keeping those negative thoughts. We got to take that same energy and invest it into what's going to help us curate positive thoughts, healthy thoughts, life-giving thoughts. And again, all of this takes time. Like, I'll use another analogy. If you were to take a cup and you were to put some mud at the bottom, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but it's a really cool thing. Put a little dirt at the bottom, and then you go and you put that cup under some running water under a faucet. And as that cup fills up with water, you're going to see it be dirty because dirt's at the bottom. But the more water that pours into that cup, the more water that pours into that cup, the more the dirt's going to flow over to the top, and it's going to come out of the cup, and it's going to come out of the cup. And eventually there's no longer going to be dirt. It's just going to be clean running water, because that's the only substance that remains, because we continue to allow clean water to fill the cup to eliminate the dirt. It's just like that in our life. There's so much dirt that we're still trying to work through. And it's not that we need to walk away or run away from what's good because we don't deserve it. We haven't earned it. Again, falling in victim into the shame perspective. We're trying to reframe our relationship to that by not falling into those shameful pits. But we're actually, again, being curious of what it says about us. We're being curious about that. And we're also leaning into what God says about us, right? And allowing those things to take time. Because let's face it, like experiencing trauma allows you and gives room for you to live in a place of shame. Shame is so real, and it's not something as simple as just thinking of something different. As much as it is a place where we're able to show up in a consistent rhythm, consistency, discipline, repetition, those things matter. And as we continue to cultivate that relationship in a safe place, right, we will overcome that shame. But we first have to ask and be curious about the things that this event we're feeling is speaking to us. And then furthermore, affirming and validating that. Like, man, it sucks that that person wasn't there for me like I needed them to be. It sucks that that person wasn't a safe place for me like I needed them to be, and being willing to take our time in nurturing that wound and not rushing through it. But eventually, again, like I mentioned, I think gratitude just places us in the right position, places us in the right grounding space where we're able to be grateful for what is, grateful for what remains, grateful for who remains. If I can give you some prompts, maybe you'll hold these later. Ask yourself, what's one thing you're deeply grateful for today? Who's one person that you're grateful for today has had a positive impact on you recently? Looking inwardly, what are you proud of yourself of today? I don't care if it's the fact that you got up out the bed. What is one thing that you're proud of yourself of today? Today, I want you to tell me, or tell yourself, what are you looking forward to? What are you anticipating? And then why is today going to be a great day? See, when we enter our days into that, when we might take moments throughout our day to shift into those thinkings, man, I'm telling y'all, it's a lifesaver. It allows you to zoom out of all the things that are bombarding your mind that are feeling extremely more problematic than they really are. And it gets you into a place where you're grounded and you're able to get into a place of regulating your body through gratitude. Okay. I think that's a huge, huge benefit. And then, I also want you to consider where you are in your grief journey. I think that's worth journaling as well. So the 5 stages of grief, you got, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, right? So I want you to kind of just be honest. As you sit down in a quiet place, put your hand over your heart and you ask where the tension and pains are that are showing up, right? And as you start to breathe through those areas, right? And you start to really get curious as to why that's there. Maybe you start to just really consider, as you've been grieving the loss of a relationship, man, being honest, man, I'm angry today. I'm really in a place of deep sadness today. I'm really still in the place where I'm trying to figure out what ifs. What if I was different? What if this turned out to be something different? What if I was better? What if things change? Maybe I just haven't fully accepted it. I'm still in a place of denial. I don't believe that this is what they really meant when they said that. I don't believe that this is really what they were saying when they told me they no longer wanted to see me. Like, being honest about that, because I think when we get to the stage of acceptance, we don't typically go back to the other places of anger, denial, depression. We don't go back to those places. I think I would say we are at a place when we are at acceptance, where we're at peace with the solution. We're at peace with what the relationship came out to be. Hey, I know I wanted this. It didn't come out to be that way, but you know what? I'm okay. I'm at peace. I'm no longer expecting them to be what I wanted them to be. I'm no longer looking for them to be what I hoped for them to be. I'm genuinely okay. And I have enough discipline that if I were to see them on a regular day in the grocery store, I'm not going to go running away. I'm not going to go hiding. That doesn't mean I have to approach them on some buddy, hi, how are you? But it doesn't make me uncomfortable. I can actually stay in a position of being regulated if I were to come across them, right? Like that's one of the ways that you've actually done some healing work. I remember going on campus, man, there were some people, I remember this one in particular person. I have not always been here. I know there was a time when I was on campus in college. There was a friend of mine that I was good friends with when I first came to that college. I had no idea that she would even be there. But I had ended up basically not really communicating with her as much, right? And kind of just moving on, not necessarily from the relationship or the friendship, but just not pouring into it as much, you know, and not really giving as much attention to it as much. And I really didn't, if I'm being honest, I didn't really steward the relationship as well as I should have, because it was a really important relationship to her in that season of her life. And I don't think I really shared the same feeling, even though we connected really well. We were great friends. She was great people. And I remember seeing her when I got off. I remember I don't think I got off the bus. I think I was walking from class. And it was kind of weird because I saw her as I was walking from class. I think I was headed to the bus or either headed to like the recreational center on campus. I don't think she saw me. I saw her though. And my heart got I got nervous. You would have thought, I thought I started breaking out a sweat. My blood started to rush. I was like, oh my Lord. And I looked back, I was like, is that, what in the world? And I just got nervous all of a sudden. Like, I was like, ooh, yeah. But I think what's crazy is that emotion, that almost erotic emotional response to that was because, man, like I did not really treat that relationship as well as I should have, in the sense of being attentive enough, present enough. I was not in any way, shape, or form communicative on perhaps my dealings in the friendship and how I should have went about that moving forward, you know? And I think a lot of that stuff started coming back up when I saw her face, even though she didn't see me. And I believe there was a time later after that. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it was after that. I ended up sending an apology message. Don't even know if she ever got it. I believe it was like in 2022 or something like that. I did end up sending her an apology message. You know, I remember there was a time when we had briefly rekindled, and she had admitted at that time, I was trying to replace you. She was like, yeah, I was trying to replace you. We really had a really dope, like, brother sister type friendship, man. And I just did not steward that the way I should have. And I ended up sending a message. I think the only contact I had that was anywhere near was Twitter. And I had sent her a message. And I think it was read. I think it was seen. I don't know. I don't necessarily remember. I don't even have Twitter. But I sent her a message and I apologized. I acknowledged that, you know what, how I decided to go about ending that friendship wasn't good. I should have been more communicative. I should have been more attentive. I should have been more meaningful in caring about the relationship as much as you did. And to be honest, it's not just that I didn't even know that you cared, although I think if I were to be honest, there were probably plenty of signs. You know, I didn't steward it properly. I just didn't. I didn't show up the way that I should have. I didn't care to continue building the relationship at the same rate that you did. And I apologize for that. And whether she responded or not, who knows? But I just remember, man, going into those places where I couldn't even do that. I was so dysregulated when I came across this person. And so I think it's worth considering, man, as a part of healing. Like, when you get to a place of acceptance, you're not too bothered by that. That doesn't happen. You're able to remain regulated and not too bothered when you see somebody who you used to be buddy and friend with, and you see them walking across the street and you ready to run. Look who I saw today. You ready to take off. That just means we might actually still have some work to do. And that is still sparking something in our hearts that we haven't really been honest enough about or dealt with long enough to actually overcome it. You know, I got stories on that for days. I mean, from people that I wouldn't hear from on the phone, text messages, see their name pop up, and I just, you know, when you are at a place where you're healed, you've come to a place of acceptance, seeing their posts online isn't going to bother you. It's just not. Now, it takes time to get there, but it's not going to bother you. It's not going to send you back into a tailspin. If you were to ever receive a message from them on any platform It's not to say you have to answer, but seeing their name pop up, it's not going to cause you to go into a tailspin and become emotionally dysfunctional. You're going to be able to remain regulated. That's when you get to that place of acceptance. You're at a place of peace and stability. And so just question yourself. Where are you at? Where are you at with all that? Okay. And be honest about that and know that it's a day-to-day journey. And I think if you can get, when you first start getting to that place of acceptance, give it 30, when you're testing this out, I say give 30 days, give 30 days. And if you're there at an acceptance at a consistent rate, you probably have grieved it. And it's a good sign to move forward. Okay. What's happening, fam? Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. If you want to watch the full replay of this entire conversation, I'm sure it's popped up somewhere on this screen, so be sure to click that. But also, if you guys are interested in joining a free safe space for men community designed to help you heal and get your life back on track in 4 dimensions of faith, relationships, energy, and economics, click the link in the description below. Be sure to sign up and join in this community so we can connect and get back on track to getting you back. Be easy.